Welcome, Ben.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on, brother.
I'm honored to get the invite.
Dude, I am honored that you're here, especially after doing my research today. I know a lot about Aussie rules now, relatively.
Okay.
I still want to learn more. I have tons of questions. It's been a hectic setup, honestly. We've been here for what, like an hour or so?
Yeah.
Ayman wasn't even supposed to co-host.
Yeah.
I knew Ben was on, so I had to jump on. So.
No, well, I didn't have my key to go up. I call Ayman. 10 minutes later, he's not there. So I'm, Ayman, what's going on, bro? Like, we're getting this podcast set up. Ayman's like, yeah, man, I was talking to Ben, and we were just in this enthralling conversation. I'm like, bro, you can't just stop the conversation, open the door.
Third time I had to go get the keys, too.
Yeah.
Go get Mo.
Well, I forgot my keys.
The key situation has been underplayed here.
Yeah.
Okay, but still, we're setting up the podcast, the context, right? And he's like, dude, like, we should have been airing right there. We were going into some great stuff. And that got me thinking, Ayman, co-host our pod 20 minutes before, and he's here. Peer pressured him into it.
Credit to him.
But
stepping up.
Yeah, 5 episodes in, he's finally on.
Long overdue.
But yeah, bro, there's a lot to talk about. Aussie rules, AFL, playing out there. You come out here to USC, star punter, all Pac-12, going to the league.
I think I was
soon.
honorable mention. I don't think I made the Pac-12 team.
We'll say all Pac.
But if you're gonna give it to me, I'll take it. I'll take it.
Bro, I don't even know where to start. I was learning about the rules. It's a crazy game, and I think a lot of Americans don't even understand what it is. Myself, I thought it was rugby, and I think really if more Americans understood what was going on, they would get behind it. And I also didn't realize it's the 4th most attended sport on the planet. It's crazy, dude.
Yeah, well, I think in my my last year of playing in 2017, I think our team averaged 54,000 people per game.
Wow.
And the stadium, our home ground, the MCG, has like 100,000 people capacity. And it's massive in Australia. And I think the reason it kind of doesn't catch on over here is just like there's no infrastructure in place to kind of support it. And I think there are actually AFL teams that are based over here, and there's a US AFL league, which I know we're going to talk about Mason Cox later, but he actually played in.
Oh, really? So he started playing Aussie rules here in the US, and then he went over.
Yeah, well, I think he was a college basketball player, and then was playing for the Austin team, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and then through there, I think they initiated kind of like a draft combine for athletes over here that didn't get drafted into their sport, as a way for AFL recruiters to scout talent over here. And I mean, he's a pretty incredible athlete for his size, and he's been able to translate it really well.
Wait, can you explain it? So at Penn, I took this class, crazy class. It was more like storytelling. Teacher loved Aussie rules football, always watched it. And before class, he always play highlights and stuff. So we all come into class. We see this weird game going on. It's not quite rugby. It's some kind of European. I don't know what it was. Yeah. Found out it was Aussie rules. Kind of interesting. Can you just like lay the premise of it, how you score points, the teams, how many players on the field, all that good stuff?
Yeah, okay. So you have 18 players per side, and then you'll have 4 on the interchange bench as well. So you've got 22 people total. And basically you have 2 big posts, much like the field goals, and then you'll have a smaller post either side of those. And if you kick it through the middle ones, it's 6 points. And anything to the side is 1 point. And then if you miss it completely, it's out of bounds on the full. It's a free kick to the other team. Everything that happens in between is very complicated, and the rules are constantly changing. And it's actually a very good subject point at the moment, because there's been rules that have been changed back home, and I think everyone's kind of confused as to what's happening. So the easiest way to describe it is it's much like the gameplay of soccer, in the way that like the defense moves and like your attack kind of moves, but with a rugby kind of concept to it as well.
But kicking's a bigger part of the game than rugby, right?
So much like the quarterback throws the ball over here, we, to pass it, would kick with our feet.
Got it.
Yeah. And that's how you get a composed possession.
Well, so I was watching highlights all day. I was on this rabbit hole, and all the big highlight plays are ones where you kick it really high and far, and then it's just a mosh pit. It's almost like a jackpot situation, and then the dude just jumps the highest and catches it. I guess that's called a mark.
Yep.
Right? There we go.
Yeah. So if you mark the ball,
yeah,
then you get like a composed possession, so the other team can't touch you. So you then move back off the mark.
you have an opportunity to kick it through the post.
Yeah, you get 7 seconds to kick it, or if you're having a shot at goal, you get 30 seconds. So like, it's hard to explain without any visuals.
Yeah.
But
it's a good thing we have the visual.
It's a complicated game.
We've got the highlights popped up. So this is all right. We've got the overall highlights, and let's first put the one where this is the one you catch it, right? This is a big mark.
You're going off the YouTube clip. Which one are we showing?
Put the
Do you
first
want this
one
or the other one?
Put
This
the first
one?
one. Yeah.
The other one.
No, yeah, the other one.
Yeah.
The gigantic
This
screamer.
catch was insane. Bro, I didn't know you had this in you.
Please hold.
I was a bit younger.
We don't have the
dude,
budget.
So
How were you?
Yeah.
This one.
Oh, here we go.
This would have been
Up top.
2015.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. Bad timing.
I mean, you went up. Bro, so I saw this earlier today, and I'm thinking, why aren't you playing tight end?
Oh, I'm too old
You're-
now.
No, you're not.
I can't move anymore.
Bro, you're 6'6", what, 240, 245?
Yeah, 245.
Are most people that big playing Aussie? Like you mentioned, the basketball player, right? Are most people like 6'4", 6'6"?
I think even from when I started playing, so I got drafted in 2009. I think the average or the prototype of the player has changed so much. I think even now it's like you got guys getting drafted that are my size, that move better than me, are way fitter than me, and even the way the game's changing because of rule changes as well. There's a bigger emphasis on endurance now, and far less on strength. And it's about who can kind of outrun because of.
Really?
So what they've done is they've capped with interchange, so you can only make a certain amount of changes per game. So players have to stay on the field for longer. So now players have to be able to run better, and then obviously the development pathway as well is much better now. There's more funding, and the guys coming through are just incredible athletes.
Yeah. And talk about, because upstairs we talked about it a little bit. I thought it was interesting. So here, especially through football, you have to go through college and everything, and to a way to get to the pros. There you go straight out of high school, right?
Yeah.
You get drafted, then there's like a development stage.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Like, what was draft like coming straight out of high school? Was it a big deal? And then how did developing into a pro become?
Yeah, I think the pathway is very different. Like, it kind of starts real young too, because I probably started playing football when I was 5, and then you kind of work your way through like local leagues, and then up and towards under 18, so high school age, state level kind of competition, and then from there you get recruited, and then go to like development teams and that sort of thing, and go to the combine, and then you're drafted straight out of school, and clubs will invest 4 or 5 years into a player if they think that they need the development. So a key position player like myself, who's taller, may need some more time to kind of grow into my body. They'll invest 4 or 5 years into to try and get to the point where they're ready to kind of play. Because coming out of high school and going against seasoned veterans who are 25 to 30 years old, who have played the game for a long time, really smart, like you're a really elite talent if you can come into that situation and perform. Yeah.
So are you coming out? Are you making like a big contract? Because we talked, these are all guaranteed money. Are you making meals coming straight out of high school? And is that crazy? Or what was it like? Or only the elite players?
Yeah. So I think the average salary, if you like Googled it, would be a little bit skewed because of the top tier talent. And you may have like 2 or 3 players at each club that are like getting paid serious dollars. But even then, like that's not really comparable to the money that you can make over here. And I think that comes back to the fan base, and Australia's got 25 million people compared to America with 350 million people or whatever it is. But so there's just not like that. You just don't generate as much fan base and money coming in through that way. But it's it's still very good money for a kid coming out of high school. Don't get me wrong. And even like now, the money that they're earning on base salary, which is all guaranteed. So if you get drafted, you've got 2 years at the club. Like you're not going to get fired the next week. And that's where it's also dangerous because you have guys coming straight out of high school, walk straight into a disposable income. And that's why that development kind of role at the club is so important. And the investment that clubs make in those first 4 years to make sure that they're on the right pathway and learning good habits.
Talk to me about the physicality of the game. So I saw somewhere today where they said if you play over 100 games, like that's a very elite threshold, which I believe you did, right? Over 100?
I played 63.
Okay, 63.
Yeah.
Well, almost there.
Yeah, nearly. A couple seasons away.
Well, you played 8 seasons, right?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, that's a very long time to do anything professionally in terms of athletics goes. And, much more when you take into account the physical beating and the big hits and all the highlight plays and all that. How does that compare? Well, so you play punter, so it's different in terms of like you're not experiencing the day-to-day of football. But, how does that look in between games in terms of recovery and how many days in between games do you have off-season recovery? Because a lot of people don't last that long, right?
It's a really long season. So they have 23 weeks for the 22 rounds, and they have a mid-season bye. And it's structured very similar to how it is over here. You play each weekend, but you may play on a Friday night one week and then on a Saturday the next weekend. So that's where kind of what you're saying, the recovery side of things is so important because not only are you kind of dealing with the physical contact of contested situations and you then have to run a heap. So after the game, like it takes 2 days to kind of feel like you can walk normal.
Yeah.
Just because like you've copped bangs and your joints are real sore just from wearing the load. My shins would be banged up the whole year, just like bruised, cuts.
Well, also the field's 200 yards.
Yeah, so like the running side of things.
Dude, how much are you running per game?
In kilometers, which I'll have to convert, I was probably doing just under. So I think the most I ever ran in the game was 16 kilometers, which I think is 10 miles.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, that's right. It's 1.6, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think it's about 10 miles a game.
Okay.
And
dude, that's insane.
Yeah, look, you're spot on.
Oh, wow.
Oh, kilometers, but
Yeah.
yeah,
close.
it depends on your position too. Like
And
we
that
had
was-
guys in our team that wouldn't run
Okay.
as much. But
What position were you?
I was a forward, but then I would also go into the ruck. So I would start forward, and then when our number one ruckman would go off onto the bench for a rest, I would kind of take his place until he came back on, and then I'd cop a spell,
Right.
which I would need, and then I'd come back on, and then just keep doing the job.
Bro, what am I watching when? So they do the kick pass in the the semicircle, where you can be eligible for the kick through. I'm saying this all wrong in terms of terminology.
Yeah,
but do you get what I'm saying?
very
Like the
confused.
kick ball, or like when they kick it up, and then it's like a jackpot situation to catch it.
Oh, yep.
So what's going on where these guys are climbing on people's shoulders and catching the ball?
Yeah, so like each team will have a game plan they want to do. So basically,
just like that almost.
Yeah, the long kick down the line to that pack
Yeah.
would be kind of like a get out. So that's like your last resort. Because ideally you want to kind of pick apart their defense and split them through the middle and open the game up. But if that's not on, because they've pressed in really well, then you kind of just have to bomb it long. And that was quite often my role, was to kind of be that get out option. So if they needed to just kick it long.
Yeah, you're in the pile and you have to catch the ball.
Yeah.
Have you ever been on the opposite side of that where someone jumps on your back and mosses you like that?
Nah, I've never been mossed, but I've certainly been manhandled a few times.
They like box you up?
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's something that we would train a lot during the preseason. Was a lot of body work and one-on-one situation. Yeah.
How about the stadium itself? I've heard a lot about MCG.
Oh, amazing. Greatest stadium in the world. Yeah, without a doubt. It's so
How
big.
many does it fit?
Over 100K, right?
100K?
Yeah. But I think
Have you-
too, like the field size kind of makes it feel massive.
Really?
Yeah, because the field, like you said, is like 200 yards long by, I think it's actually 180 meters long and 167 meters wide or something, which is a lot of yardage. But
how does it compare to playing in like the Coliseum in terms of like the fans and the environment and the atmosphere?
The Coliseum's got a really different feel because it almost feels like the stands kind of just disappear into the darkness, and it feels gigantic, and everything's on the same level. It's different.
How about rowdiness? Awesome. Like just fans. So we had OJ on the first episode. Do you remember, Bolin? And we pulled up the European basketball games.
Oh, they're crazy.
It's not
they're
even
like
soccer, just basketball.
They're lighting flares and stuff.
Yes.
Inside.
Yeah. Apparently they sneak the flares into like
really
foot-long subs and then pull them out. Like.
It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. I had no idea, but I'd imagine AFL is something similar.
Not really. Like, because the game is so free-flowing, like the crowd kind of just tracks the game. So they're very active with the umpires' calls and like very vocal when they think a decision should be made. Whereas over here, it's very much like a game is it's like a performance almost. Like it's very tactical by like the marketing team in how they're going to engage the fans to kind of want to come and then want to stay. Whereas back home, it's like everyone comes because they just want to watch the game, see people crash bodies, and see their team win. But I think, again, that kind of comes back to the stop-start nature of American sports in general, I think. And I think that also kind of stems from like all the ads. Like there's so many ads during sport over here.
That's true.
And they take forever. So it's like the game could actually be over and done with in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But like it takes almost 4.
Well, in terms of actual football being played, it's probably less than an hour.
100%. Yeah.
Probably way less, like half an hour or something.
Yeah.
And you're nonstop in AFL Aussie rules.
Yeah. And I think that you have 20-minute quarters plus time on, so they usually go for about half an hour.
Yeah.
But there's no pause in between. So it's like the crowd is constantly engaged and they don't need to kind of force it a bit. And I guess that comes back to different kind of culture as well.
So like we talked about kind of the crowd. How is the psychology of the players? So is there a different way you saw the players go about it in the locker room and how they were in the makeup, or was it pretty similar?
Yeah, well, I was actually watching your chat with Coach Mustin and Coach Tupou.
Yeah.
And Darren brought up a really good point about not everyone likes to listen to the really loud music and that sort of thing. And I think that was really kind of relevant back home. Like if people wanted to listen to music, they would have their headphones on. And then that would kind of signify to other people, like, hey, like, let them do their thing. They're like listening to their music. That's how that works for them. Then other guys would like to go out on the field beforehand, run around a bit, kick the ball, really relaxed. I'd just like to kind of walk around. I'd listen to music for a little bit and then kind of just interact with my teammates, which I kind of do now. I kind of just pace around. I don't know if it just feels good.
Yeah.
But the psyche side of stuff, I think there's so much room to grow over here. And especially for our team too, like I think it's a really untapped kind of potential in getting more out of players.
So you're doing something not completely different here with football, but you know, when you played in Australia, there's the physical element that you're not quite reaching here. Does that play into your pre-game, you know, mental, your mindset in terms of preparation for that game?
I think it does, yeah, because like I'm not thinking about like how like running patterns and having to work really hard to a certain spot. All I'm kind of focused on now, I can kind of narrow it now and streamline my focus, and in many ways that's kind of been a nice thing and a nice thing to adjust to. Whereas I can really just focus on the one thing and like this one particular task, and that's to kick the ball where it needs to be kicked and like help my teammates. But then on the flip side, it's hard because my role is so limited. So it's like, even if I execute my job, how else do I impact the team, you know?
Right. Is there almost more pressure in that? And you have one responsibility to punt the ball, and like everyone's staring at you, kind of the same thing with a quarterback, but fourth down, you're the guy. You know, if you bobble it or something, it's kind of the same thing with a holder. The only time, you know, someone comments about him is when he messes up, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Is there more pressure in that, or does AFL present more nerves in that aspect?
I think there's probably more pressure over here because the game is so free flowing back home. So it's like you screw up, there's not enough time to worry about it. Like if you stop to think about it, the game's past you, and you've probably made another mistake. If
you shank a punt, you're going to the sideline.
Yeah,
the camera's on you.
You got a lot of time to think about it.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
you have a long time to think about it.
Absolutely, it's it can be hard, but at the same time, that's where your preparation is so important, and that's something that I really value and pride myself on, is making sure that I've done enough work during the week and in the months before that I know by the time game comes around, everything I've done in the week is actually harder than the game time. Yeah. And when I'm out there, it's actually just like I'm just going out there and I'm just reacting and doing what I've trained, you know? Yeah. Because if you're thinking when you're out there, it's like there's not enough time for it in the game.
100%.
Yeah.
But you've been a pro for 8 years, right? Like, there's still kids here trying to balance school, trying to, you know, work steady. I don't know what else they're doing. Yeah. And especially being in Los Angeles, there's so much to do. Like, did you have that mentality coming out of, you know, high school? Or is that something that they coached you up and developed you when you first got into the league and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that was learnt. Like, I mean, there was an element of, I knew how to work hard, but probably, I mean, no one knows when they're 18, like, how to fully apply themselves. And I think that's where learning from your teammates who have been there before, and also the club investing in you as a player, will help you develop in that area that makes you a good player. And I hope that that's something that I can provide to the team over here, is how to apply themselves and to get more out of themselves, and to not put limits on what they think they can achieve, or how far they can push their body. And I think that's why our program at the moment has been really awesome, is because our team is now learning, like, you know what, like, I'm getting through these freaking hard weeks. I feel good. Like, I'm ready to attack the next week. And that's where confidence comes from, is from doing the work. So then come game time, like, they don't have to think about it. They're like, you know what, this guy's going to give me his best. I've done so much freaking hard work. I'm going to dominate this bloke. You know, like, and I hope that that's something I can, you know, give back to the team.
Nice. Yeah. Do you think people are receptive to you? Because you're much older than everyone else, right? Everyone's like 18 years old, coming straight out of high school. I feel like the old man inside the house, right? Yeah. I'm the oldest by far. Do you feel like alienated anyways, being that much older, or do you think you can still connect with these kids and provide value to them?
Well, I like to think I can still connect. Like, I'm kind of
Hey, by the way, if you're ever interviewing a woman that's older than you, I would soften that up a little bit, my friend.
You're lucky Ben's easy going.
I kind of it's kind of nice being around younger guys. Like, it makes me forget about how old I am, or how old I'm becoming. But yeah, I think playing AFL, you were dealing with new draftees coming in anyway, so you kind of had that experience of dealing with younger guys coming in. Only now it's I'm the only one. I feel like I'm kind of left on the island a little bit, and then there's just this big distance in between. But no, it's fine. Like, I often forget about how old I am, and I think the age factor is not really a thing.
How about the difference in training between the two? You mentioned our new program here with Coach Steiner coming in for Notre Dame and all that, and they're working us. You know, they're challenging workouts for sure. The mat drills, you know, we're running first in the weight room. Just kind of curious to see how that differs, or the similarities between an AFL training regimen versus college football.
Yeah, I think even our old program was very much tailored towards, like, being really good lifters and
talking about here.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
And then now we've kind of seen a shift to more, I guess, like a baseline development in, like, anaerobic threshold.
Yeah.
And I think that translates really well to football. But as compared to back home in Australia, it's very much endurance based. So kind of like the emphasis that's placed on weights over here would be placed into running. And then also you get a lot of your endurance through the training. So like they set up drills so that you get conditioning from it, which, I mean, happens over here too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the greatest difference is probably the emphasis that's placed on weight training. And you need that over here because you got guys that are dealing with knocks every down. And like you need to have that protection.
Well, don't you need the same thing in Aussie rules?
Yeah, you need like an element of it because if you need to be like super fit but also
It's
super
like full package. You have to have both.
Yeah, you got to find like this balance in between because if you're too heavy and like got too much muscle, you're not going to be mobile.
You're gonna get outrun.
Yeah. So for instance, like myself, like I've put on 25 pounds since I've been here.
Really?
So I was getting around at like 220, which is about 100 kilo, just under 100 kilo, because I needed to run. But
You're
then
what, 6'6"?
Yeah, 6'6". So yeah, we would do a heap of running. That's why, and that's why like when we do running out here, that's my thing.
Yeah.
Like that's the one drill
Well,
where I might actually win. Like I'm not going to be the fastest, but I'll just
outrun.
keep,
You could. Yeah.
Well, I probably won't outrun
Outlast
Mo.
people.
Mo's a machine.
No, that's you, dude. I remember my first summer out here. I didn't know who you were. You were leading the pack. And I'm like, this guy's a tight end for sure. 6'6", 240, just striding out there. I thought you were a tight end.
I was trying to mow you down. Pardon the pun.
I see what you did there.
That was bad. Sorry.
No, that's good. That's what we need. More puns. So you play 8 years, right? And then decide to call it quits. What goes into that decision, and then you're, hey, I'm gonna move to the U.S. and play college football and pursue this American football dream.
Yeah. So in my last year, I had a few concussion issues, and it wasn't because of concussion that I retired. I actually came back and played, which I'm really glad I did. I kind of needed that closure when I look back at it retrospectively. But it was kind of it wasn't really like a deliberate move to come over here. It kind of like just popped up. And one of my good mates who's actually was the punter at Utah and just transferred over to Florida, or a school in Florida. He had just committed to Utah. And I was like, oh, this looks pretty good. I was coming out of contract at the end of the year, and I was like, at my age, this is probably something, if I'm going to do it, because I'd always kind of thought about coming over here and having a crack. So I just sat down and had a conversation with the coaches at Pro Kick, and then had a kick before Christmas Eve, I think 2017. And then he sent the footage off to, at the same time, I think Coach Baxter at the time was asking if there was any good punters around, and he's like, well, this guy's come down for a kick, but he's actually not really in the program. If you want him, you have to act on it fast, because I was still contracted. So in about a 5-day span, it kind of played out, and I ended up retiring and committing to come to USA. Yeah.
Wait, so how long have you been practicing punting before you got the offer here?
Well, I hadn't really been not punting as you know it over here, but I had been doing, because the art of kicking, which we do a lot in NFL, is it's like the same action, it's same similar concept. Okay. You just need to fine tune some stuff. And don't get me wrong, that's a really hard process to kind of master the art of what's needed over here. But I showed enough in that first kind of footage that Coach Baxter showed a lot of faith in me, and I kind of showed a lot of faith in him that he wanted me, and that was it. Yeah.
What was he watching? Your American football like film, or was he watching your AFL stuff?
I think he'd seen a little bit of the AFL stuff, but that didn't really play into the decision a lot. I think like he watched primarily me kicking in NFL ball. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So dude, that's wild.
So my world was flipped on its head.
What would you put, like 2 weeks on it between the decision to I'm gonna try out this new skill until the point where Coach Baxter said, we'll take you and come move to Los Angeles?
Um,
What's that time frame looking like?
I literally just had that one kick.
That one training session.
Yeah, probably about an hour and a half maybe. And the coach was from Australia, from Pro Kick, was filming me. And I had kicked an American football prior to that, but I hadn't been actively training it or anything. And then I had a few more conversations with Coach Baxter, and I think it was probably like a 2-week period where I had kind of finalised my decision and confirmed that I was going to retire. I had to go in and tell my head coach that I was going to retire.
Wow.
It was. I don't think I've ever been so nervous in my life.
I bet.
Yeah, I genuinely thought that he was going to lean over the table and like punch me in the face, because he was just like, "You're screwing over the list here."
Right.
But he was super supportive, and I think he kind of always knew that at some point I was going to go down this pathway. Yeah.
So what's the dream? What's the dream? Just to come to America, see what the culture's like, be on a team, or is it to be like in the NFL and be an NFL punter and have another professional career?
Yeah, that's my my end goal. I had a conversation with one of my old teammates, Shane Edwards, Ripper bloke.
Wait, what'd you say?
Ripper bloke?
Ripper bloke. Like,
All right, we can't just pass over.
No, you have to explain that.
Yeah, bro. What?
just a
What does Ripper mean?
Like he's he's shredded, like he's a big dude. He's just a
cool.
good guy.
Just a bloody good dude.
Okay.
Just a Ripper bloke.
Dude.
And he was saying, like, when you look back when you're 40 and like you kind of look at your life story, like what are you going to see? And then we kind of spoke about how like I've got drafted out of high school, played AFL, and I'll go to college, and then the goal is to play NFL. But I think even if it's just coming over here, getting a degree, which I never thought I would do, coming to a school like USC, looking back at that when I'm 40 and like everything that I've experienced, would just be like a really cool achievement and something I'll be super proud of. And so regardless of whether I make NFL or not, like I'm really, really grateful that I've had this opportunity to come over here and immerse myself in a different culture and different sport. But without a doubt, like the number one priority is like I want to play NFL. Yeah,
that would be cool. All Pac-12, right?
Yeah, we're gonna say all Pac-12. Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna take it.
NFL, that'd be sick.
Playing pro for 2 different leagues in 2 different countries. That's amazing.
Yeah. That was one of the things that I was like, if I can get drafted in 2 professional sports, that was one of the things I wanted to tick off. So working hard towards that.
Yeah.
Bo Jackson.
Yeah, Bo Jackson. Dude,
if you're gonna put me in the same category, I'll take
greatest athletes of all time. Bo Jackson, Ben Griffiths.
Nah, I think there's daylight between that.
Man, yeah. Dude, I'm still in awe of after one workout, your pro kick guys are like, he's ready to go play in the States. Yeah. Because I mean, there's dudes that you're from California who spend their whole lives dreaming about playing at USC. This dude Ben pulls up to a field in Australia, still on contract. He kills a workout. I'm like, all right, yeah, we'll take him.
Yeah, I think
like, that's amazing.
Kicking's one of that sport too, right? Where you have personal trainers. Yeah. You do it from like when you're Pop Warner and you're like, my kid's gonna be a kicker, right? So you practice that skill of learning how to kick, whether it's like field goals or punter, and try to go to great school, and then try to make it a league. And then once you make it to the league, people are there for years and years and years, so it's even hard to get in. So that's a very competitive and tough process.
Yeah, no doubt.
I was reading about Mason Cox, basically did the opposite thing. So he was a basketball player at Oklahoma State, some 6'10" guy, didn't really even get much playing time, just a big dude. And somehow he found out about Aussie rules and he moves over there. So it's just the opposite thing. How is he as a player? Is he getting the respect that natural born Aussies are getting, or how does that work? Is that a common thing, or is he like one of a kind in that sense? Because I see a lot of guys doing what you're doing, the Aussie guys coming out here and playing punting. That's becoming a trend, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't see it the other way around.
Yeah.
So
there's been a couple of guys. I think Mason has certainly had the most established career, I would say. And I think the way that he's gone is probably more impressive than us coming over here.
You think so?
Yeah, because
Why?
I mean, the skill that we kind of do with kicking is already very transferable. So you only need to tweak a few minor things. Whereas he's had to learn how to kick.
You guys have to be athletes.
Yeah,
right?
and he's also
and
I mean he's come from basketball, so he's already a really good athlete, no doubt. But then he's had to learn the game, and it's a very complex game. So I think what he's done is really good for the game of AFL in America because he's given it a massive amount of exposure. I think it's pretty impressive. He actually cops a bit of flack in the media.
Does he?
Yeah, because I mean everyone has a bad game, but I think because of who he is and because of his story, he kind of stands out a lot and probably cops more than your average player because of where he's come from.
Bro, this man grew up in Texas, Mason Cox. He's lived in Australia for 2 years, and he's already got an Australian accent.
Yeah.
Have you heard him speak recently?
He's still got an element of American. Like, it's not, I wouldn't say he's like a...
But he's got all the lingo. He says, mate, the whole 9 yards.
Well, I mean, everyone says mate.
You've been here for 2-3 years. Why don't you sound American?
Has yours changed?
I'm doing everything possible
You're just trying to
not get the American.
You're watching like Australian movies every night and everything.
Yeah, I'm like on the phone back home to my mates. Like, just talk to me. I need to hear an Australian voice.
Do you think it will change or no?
I don't know. It was nice to go back home over New Year's and kind of freshen up. And
OJ was adamant that he's never going to lose his. Yeah, he could live here for 10 years and still have his British accent.
I think there's like a threshold. You get to a certain age and then it kind of, it just stays. Whereas if I had to come over when I was maybe like 16 or 17 or even 18, then I would have maybe been more like impressionable and I think it subconsciously happens. Because I reckon there's even times where if we're in the weight room and we're getting the count, right? And like I would subconsciously just say like a number with an American accent because I'm hearing it.
Oh, do you?
I think so. I think it happens.
Do you feel yourself saying it and then you're like, damn it?
There's been a few times where I've noticed myself with like saying an American sounding word and I've been like, don't do that again.
You say y'all.
No.
Are there any like
y'all is something that is something I'll never say. Y'all.
Yeah. But are there any sayings you've picked up? Like OJ loves using cap.
Oh yeah. Cap is an American
There's
thing.
some like sayings that he's picked up and like incorporated.
And
anything that you
vice versa, we've picked up some British lingo.
Okay.
Safe.
Safe?
Yeah.
Like, give me some context.
Be like, hey, what's up, Ben? Safe, Mo. Like every time OJ walks,
it's like a greeting.
It's a greeting. That wasn't much context. Every time he opens up the apartment front door, safe, Mo. Safe, A Money. Safe, Lou Dog, and he just says safe to everybody.
Is that like an introduction? Like, what's up?
Yeah, it's just like, what's up?
Safe.
It's universal. You could say it to.
It's kind of like a bet. You could replace it with a bet.
Or it's more like, what's up? Hey,
safe.
hi. Yeah. Okay. What else? He's got a bunch of different ones, but.
It's interesting.
No, I was actually surprised. I was listening to Mason, and he sounded like he's born and raised in Australia.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it doesn't work the other way around. I don't know.
Good on him. I think he's gone the right way.
Give Ben, there you go. Give Ben another year, and he'll be American.
Nah, I don't reckon.
How about if Ayman and I went to Australia?
I think you have a very good time.
I'm talking about in terms of accent. Is it sought after the same way? Like if a girl listens to your accent here, she's all over it. If Australian accent, yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, is it like, oh my God, he's got an American accent? Like, wow.
I've never been in that position where I've had an American accent and been in Australia, so I don't really know.
You've been Australian, you've been over here.
I've been in Australia and I've come here.
And you've seen Americans in Australia, so
yeah. I'm going to assume that you probably would because it's different, and this is very poor generalization, but I feel like Australian women don't like Australian men. So
really?
That's tough.
I think
you would have a pretty good time.
Wow. Yeah. I think we have to move to Australia.
Yeah, Australia.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
dude, I've only heard great things. Yeah, 100%. I've only heard great things. In terms of the women out here, there's a culture of fitness that doesn't really exist to that extent here in the U.S. you know, with the fitness IG models, that's a big thing. And maybe it's overplayed, but everyone that goes to Australia, we were talking to one of the girls that lives on the 4th floor of our apartment, and she said she visited one time, and now she wants to move to Melbourne.
Well, I'm from Melbourne, and it's a really nice place.
We asked her, like, what are you going to do after school? She just said, I'm moving to Australia. She doesn't have a job, nothing. She just loves it.
She said it's they pay pretty well. Like, you can be just a barista in a coffee shop making good money.
Yeah, if you
don't need to do, like, she almost said, like, what, $30 an hour or something like that?
Yeah, well, okay. So I think the minimum wage, the whole thing over here with like tipping and very different. Because like you're saying, like if you go and work at a cafe, like you probably earn $25 an hour, and then if you work on a public holiday, you can double that. But yeah, like if you're a really good barista and you make really good coffee.
You're the best barista in town.
No, honestly, like cafes will, because there's a massive cafe culture in Melbourne. They will like seek really good baristas, and you can make really good money.
Wow.
Well, you were saying earlier that Australians are known for being kind of coffee snobs in a sense. So.
Yeah, Melbourne in particular.
Really?
Yeah, very coffee snobby.
So are you like a superstar if you're a good barista or something? Like,
you have an agent represent you. You have contract negotiations. Yeah. I'm sitting out today, boys.
Sure, there's like barista art over there in a sense too.
No, it is. Yeah, barista art is massive. Yeah,
wow.
Like they take pride in it, and as the customer, I take pride in judging their coffee. Pretty hard.
How much better is coffee over there than here?
Oh, it's much better. Like I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just so much better. The coffee over here is
just
so
the
bad.
Quality. You're saying even the most fancy coffee here, you know, the elite of the elite, Beverly Hills, you're saying it doesn't compare to your average shop in Australia?
Not even close.
Wow.
Like Melbourne's probably got 100 cafes better than the best cafe over here.
What if you open up one of those here? Do you think
there are actually a few Australian cafes over here?
Really?
There's a few in New York too, and they're actually doing really well.
So it tastes different. Like that's a thing, an Australian coffee shop.
Yep.
And Great White in Venice is Australian.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I think I've been there.
Great White.
Great food. Great
Already
coffee.
got a fan.
Yeah.
Already got a fan.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily. I'm sure their coffee's amazing, but I think Elefante is Australian as well in Santa Monica.
Makes sense if it's good.
Where do you get your coffee then nowadays?
Dulce is actually.
Oh, in the village.
Yeah.
Okay.
And their coffee, they actually have an Australian working behind the coffee machine. And she makes a really good coffee. That's why I go there.
Yeah, there may be some bias there, but
yeah, bro.
Shout out to my fellow Australian, but hey, she knows how to make a coffee.
It's true.
Lessons to be learned.
So what are you just chatting to her about, you know, back home and the way she makes it, or what?
No, like I know Maddie pretty well.
Oh, she goes here?
Yeah, she goes to the school. Okay. So
shout out to Maddie.
Yeah, shout out to Maddie if she's listening. Probably not, but
probably not.
Shout out anyway.
No shout.
We're upping our listener.
But I can definitely make sure she listens to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, she I guess just knows how to make a coffee. Yeah.
So what else about the culture do you like in Australia? How is it different than here? We talked a little bit about the nightlife. It's more drug focused and alcohol focused, and so just walk me through like a regular night, you and your mates in Australia. What does that look like?
Yeah, so I noticed it massively when I came, and I've kind of been trying to hypothesize about it because I'm doing psychology and I've had a few substance classes, and the legal drinking age of 21. I don't know if that kind of plays into the drinking habits of college students, but there's certainly like a culture, at least at college, where people will just go out and get hammered at pre-games and write themselves off because they know they probably can't buy drinks if they go out. Whereas back home, like me and my mates, when we perch up at a pub somewhere, we're just sitting in the beer garden and like we're not going to move. Like we're just locking in for the afternoon, you know? And then it's not like we're not just sculling beers like every 30 seconds. It's like a steady pace.
Yeah.
It's just steady flow. Just good times.
Yeah.
And like, and it's more based around conversation rather than just getting absolutely
just taking shots.
Yeah.
Loud music.
Written off. And
I also heard something interesting where the day before your version of the Super Bowl, what's the championship called? Premier or something?
The premiership.
Yeah, the premiership. Where that day's off completely because they know people showing up to work would just be hungover.
It's a public holiday.
Yeah, it's a public holiday. That day's completely off.
Crazy.
Because they know it's just going to be a rager 3 days straight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people are going to take the day off anyway if their team wins.
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, we'll cut our losses and just give everyone the day off. Enjoy the day.
Yeah. Well, that's a huge. Have you played in that before?
I didn't play in it, but my last year, my team won it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was there.
So Richmond, do you have a, do you get a ring?
Yeah.
Ooh, so that's huge.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of winning a Super Bowl.
Yep.
So you went out the right way. Is that what you were talking about with
It
closure?
would have been nicer to play in it, but I still got a ring. I still played a part. And
Okay.
I mean, looking back at it, I'll still be.
You've got a ring.
Yeah.
So that's, you still contributed. You've been with the same team for those all 8 years, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So when I got drafted, that was the first year that our head coach started. And he's now gone on to coach them to 3 premierships in 4 years. So
wow,
it's kind of been, it was really cool to kind of be there from the transition of us being really, really bad to just really, really good.
Yeah, and so you got to see that growth, and you were a part of it the whole time.
And also the shift in kind of what it took to be able to be really good, and how the team chemistry kind of functioned, and the operations from the leadership, not even just from the coaches, but from the president and the CEO, and how they manage the club as a whole, and their values and that sort of stuff, and how that impacted the playing group. And it's amazing how everything's so interlinked.
Did you notice a difference where everyone's buying in all of a sudden, and
yeah,
just
absolutely.
over time? Yeah.
Was it a top-down thing, or was it like the people in the club really brought the energy and cohesiveness, or was it from, like you said, the management and the coaches and kind of like leaked down?
I think it stemmed from the head coach, the CEO, and the president, and all 3 of them allowing for the administration, the support staff for game day, like your trainers and stuff, to feel like they're making an impact. And then also as the playing group, which is probably the most important part, just celebrating each individual for who they were and really encouraging them to play to their strengths and like use their ability and what they were drafted for on game day. And like, so to say you got a really fast guy, you're telling him, mate, every time you get the ball, you just take off. I want to see you use your speed. Like, use your strength to make our team better. And I think with sports, you can often get caught up in trying to make each player the same type of player, but everyone's different and everyone's got different strengths. And the shift towards celebrating everyone as being a different individual really helped our team. Yeah.
I read also you guys have this legendary player, Dusty Martin.
Absolute star.
I hear he's the Tom Brady of the league, essentially, in terms of GOAT status. Is that accurate? Would you portray it that same way?
But I mean, Tom Brady's like pretty
He's
good.
the GOAT of all. Yeah, he's the best
He's
in any
one,
sport.
like, but
in terms of like a Michael Jordan-esque figure, where he's
certainly in terms
the
of
dude.
performance in finals games and playoffs, Dusty Martin is unrivaled. I think he's won 3 MVPs of the grand final or Super Bowl.
So we got some stats up. What's the stats you look for, like an all-star player?
What's going on here? Is he making the most kicks through the post?
No, so I mean, he certainly does. He's very damaging up forward. That's why he's so good, because he plays in the midfield and dominates in there, but then can also go forward and is a really hard matchup because of his size and strength.
Look at his, whatever hitouts are, seems to always own that position.
The hitouts, that's the ruck position. That's actually really bad for a ruck.
It says disposals, kicks,
disposals,
handballs.
Yeah, disposals is probably the number 1 category. But you want to look at efficiency too. So someone might have like 40 disposals, but be running at like 63% efficiency. Anyone who's like up around 80% is elite. But Dusty is just so unique. I don't think there's any other player like him, and that's why he's so damaging.
Why is he unique? Because he can do a lot of things very well.
He's just such a freak.
It's just different. Huh?
Like he can just he just gets stuff done when it needs to be done. Like big moments.
Sounds like he's clutch too.
Yeah, clutch. Yeah. Man, some of the goals he's kicked from like the boundary, it's just incredible.
And has he always been like that? So you guys get drafted right out of high school, right? Is he a guy that developed like a Tom Brady, or from the very beginning everyone knows Dusty's going to be that guy?
Yeah, I think like because me and Dusty were in the same draft, and he was like everyone knew he was going to be a star, and then I think like over the journey he's just grown so much as a player and has now become a really good leader at Richmond in the way he approaches his training and his professionalism. But man, he's just like, I don't even know how to describe how good he is. Like he's so good.
Yeah.
How about his? We were talking about his training too. I thought it was an interesting strategy he had.
Yeah, well, he's just found a balance that works for him, and I mean, without COVID, he usually spends every off season in LA or in the States, and like I mean, he does whatever he needs to do, and I think that's again comes back down to what he's found works for him, and that's like he'll train super hard during the year and apply himself to the game really well, and but then we'll also let himself relax and celebrate and enjoy himself, and that's part of just being a human. So I think, whatever he's doing is working for him. So I'm in awe of what his output is right now. It's pretty impressive.
And do you like try to take game from other players, or when you watch games, or do you just see what works for you and go that route? Like, do you try to pick apart Dusty's game and try to take some of that and incorporate in yours, or how does that usually work?
We were different positions, so there wasn't much that I would take, and there's probably not much I could take from Dusty's game because a lot of the stuff he does is, I can't do. But certainly we would scout other players who would play similar position from other teams, and I would try and take like techniques that they might use in a marking contest or a one-on-one situation, and try and implement that myself. So you're kind of always watching film and studying other players to try and get better. But I mean, yeah.
Dude, this looks like controlled chaos going on. Do you ever miss the adrenaline that's going on when you're running with the ball?
Yeah, there are parts of the game I miss. I just miss being involved so much. Like I wish I could
like a big part. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why I guess now I'm kind of getting a little bit of that through being able to train with more of the team.
Okay.
Because the specialists are now working with the D line, and we're doing everything with them. So I kind of feel way more a part of it.
Yeah.
But I certainly miss being kind of out there and.
Yeah, because specialists are usually in their own corner of the field.
Yeah.
Especially during camp and all that, you're just doing your own thing.
And even in my first year, we would do all the special teams periods at the start of practice, and then we would go inside and lift.
Oh.
So we wouldn't even watch practice.
Wouldn't even be up, yeah.
So people would be like, "Oh, how's the team going?" Like, "Oh,
I have no idea. They're doing
don't
well.
know. I haven't seen anyone practice." Whereas now I can kind of like get that
there with the guys,
that fix that I need of like being around more people. Yeah, that's the thing I miss the most. I think is kind of being around the team. And
is that what you miss most about Richmond as well? Just being with the guys in the locker room and that's the best part of sports.
That's
right?
where your memories.
Yeah, that's what everyone misses. Yeah.
Have you ever thought about I can play tight end or I can play this position watching practice?
That's actually a good question.
In high school, we had our punter, All-American punter, plays in the league now. I think he got picked up by the Bucks a month before they won the Super Bowl. He was our middle linebacker. Like he was like 6'4", 240. Have you ever thought about playing a different position or anything? Or at least running a fake?
Oh, look, I'm more than happy to run a fake.
Yeah, when's the fake coming?
I don't know. I really don't know. I would love for a fake to happen.
I'm going to talk to Coach Snyder on that.
Yeah, look, I don't know. I don't know if Coach Harrell's joked about putting me in as a tight end, and Coach Orlando's even like jokingly mentioned putting me in on 3rd and long.
Yeah. That'd be so much fun, bro.
I know, but we'd have to be up by 70 if you're doing that. I don't think I would trust me going in. I've got no game sense or game IQ of
This is form tackling at its finest.
I know, but the tackling part's fine. But like, how do I get past those big bastards that are on the line?
That's
like,
true,
there's some big freaking units getting around.
Yeah, there's no 300-pounders playing AFL.
No. And I'm not armed with the technique to kind of slide under and get through.
Let's say you have a delayed blitz, open hole, the quarterbacks are sitting back there, in comes Ben Griffiths.
If you can guarantee me an
tackle,
open hole, I'll run through
gladly.
it.
I thought
You and Mo was talking practice a little bit.
Other side of the ball. You're talking defense. I thought you were talking about going up and getting it like you were getting it.
Both. Throw it up to Ben.
Yeah, I think like maybe like a
red zone fade.
If we're up like 70 against UCLA, we'll run it.
Goal line
coach,
fade.
I'm going to go up to Coach
well, because
Howell,
you're used to catching it amongst groups of 5-6 people.
Yeah.
So what if you just put one corner on you that's 5'10"? You're like, bro, this is cake.
I can't jump like I used to.
You lost it.
I've lost it. Yeah. I lost it with my age.
Oh man, how about trash talk?
To be honest, mate, everyone's too tired to trash talk.
Really?
Yeah, you're running around too much. If you've got energy to trash talk in an AFL game, you're not working hard enough. That was my kind of understanding. Yeah.
How about when you get that 30-second break between catching the kickball and then giving it a free try?
Mate, you are trying to get as
air.
much oxygen into your lungs as possible.
Fair enough.
Yeah, like
200-yard field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a freaking long field, and we would do our running sessions, kind of like how we would do gases. Yeah. We would do like 1 kilometer intervals, which is just over half a mile. So we'd do like 6 of them. Yeah.
Are any fights breaking out?
Occasionally you get a melee breaking out. Yeah.
You been in one?
I've been in a few scuffles, but like
Scuffles.
yeah, I'm
No
nothing
brawls,
like
just small scuffles.
Well, no, because you get fined too much now. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah. And then so if you're just fighting by yourself with someone else, you wear the fine. But if there's other people involved, they like spread the fine out.
They spread the love.
So if it's going to happen, you want it to happen
just
in a
distribute
group.
it. Yeah, you want it to be in a group.
You don't want to be going one
Get
on
all
one.
your boys involved.
How much are the fines?
There'd be like, I think the most we had was like 1,500. Yeah, it's like your match payment gone.
That's still,
Yeah, it's not ideal. But I see a lot of elbows. I mean, that's all legal,
A lot
right?
of jumper punches. So if you like grab them by the scruff and like get them on the jaw.
Well, I'm talking about in the field of play, the stuff that's legal. Like, you can get away with a lot.
Oh yeah, a lot gets like you could kind of like throw a cheap one, or like an
Yeah.
elbow like at a stoppage or something, and
Yeah.
umpires can't see that.
Where were most of your concussions coming from? Is it contact on the ground or is it someone hitting you?
Well, I think there's actually one on YouTube.
Check
If you
this
type in Ben Griffiths KO. Oh, that Barry
Yeah,
Hall.
watch this. You were asking about fights. Watch this.
Wow.
That's clean.
right across.
And I think he got suspended like 8 weeks or something.
What am I looking for? Lem?
Yeah, he's like, I didn't do anything.
It's like he fully knocked the bloke out. If you Ben Griffiths KO, I got knocked out one time, like trying to jump up and get the ball and then landed on my head.
Were you out cold?
Yeah, I was out for. I remember waking up on the board, coming down the race, going inside. I think I was out for like a minute
Wow.
and 6 seconds or something.
Wow. How many concussions did you have? Recorded.
Yeah, it was probably like 9 or 10.
Wow.
Recorded.
Yeah. And I think like the thing for me was like kind of after this one, it took less and less to feel to like be concussed. And that's where like it was
more
kind of
easily,
like it became actually like really troubling because I was like worried about it. I was like freaky, like if I keep doing this, like what am I going to be like when I'm 45? Yeah, it's not ideal, but I mean, concussions are massively
I had
short
one.
here,
Yeah, no, I had a bad one. I guess it's now 2 years ago against Missouri, and I slid, and safety came down, and I was already on the ground for maybe. I mean, it felt like an eternity, maybe a full second or two, and he just, flagrant targeting right at my head, and knocked me out of the game. And I mean, I had headaches and concussion-like symptoms for a long time after that, weeks, months.
Yeah.
It would be like every few days, just have headaches, and I mean, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. I got into a lot of the supplementation and stuff for it. You know, a lot of the DHA, fish oils. Man, I was doing the hyperbaric chamber stuff. I was doing float pods. Like, I was getting into it. There's even light therapies. A lot of IV glutathione. I don't know if you've tried any of the recovery methods for it.
Well, I did a lot of work with like I think it's the vestibular. It's like
So that was my concussion. It was a vestibular concussion.
So I worked with a vestibular physio.
Okay, I did the same exact thing. Yeah,
I did a lot of like movement through motion and focusing on things on the wall.
it jacked up your balance, right?
Yeah, and like I would work on like a metronome. So I'd start off real slow because I had to focus on like a dot on a wall.
Yeah,
and then move my head like at a certain tempo.
I did the same exact thing.
And
while
I remember
you're
the first
balancing,
time
you have to
doing
turn your
it,
head.
like feeling like I was going to
throw
up.
Yes.
So I worked with her for, that would have been like 3 months.
Yeah. I did something similar to that.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I laid a lot of my focus. And then through that, I kind of had to manage my heart rate and stuff with working out. Yeah. And then gradually build back up because I had a real issue with migraines. And if I would exert myself too hard, I'd just get like a migraine. I'd feel like I'm going to throw up and I'd lose my vision. So yeah, like I just worked with her for, I think it was like 12 weeks, and then kind of go back to a stage where I was really confident that I was in a better place to go back and play.
But even when you're confident, that sounds pretty traumatic. Like even the rehab and being able to get back to that spot. Did that affect how, I don't know, either of you, how you played the game?
Well, if you want to play at a high level, it can't, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of it is you have headaches for so long that you expect it to come on.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt the same
No,
thing, but I would
even
wake up
today,
and I'd be
like,
waiting for my headache.
I'm like waiting for the next one, you know? And,
still.
And that's because but that's just because of where I was, you know? And like the expectation that I had. And even now, like I think it sometimes, but I know I'm fine. But yeah, like that's just, I don't know, the product of the game. And
yeah. No, I mean, it's a tough deal, man. I don't know if you've ever gone through anything like that.
I mean, I've had serious injuries, right?
Yeah.
Like I've broken my leg, multiple shoulder surgeries, and definitely like affects your mental capabilities to come back. But especially something like a head where it's traumatic, you've seen yourself get knocked out.
I think too, like when I first, because I had 3 in, I think it was like a 4-week period or something, and then after that the club was like, no, we're not playing.
3 in a
like,
4-week period.
You need to go.
How do they let you come back and play after the first 2?
A lot of it was because I was like, I want to play.
Told them.
Yeah.
Were you feeling fine, or were you still feeling symptoms?
I don't know. I think like I kind of convinced myself that I was feeling fine, even though I probably wasn't. But then also like a lot of it at the start is like you can't make a decision when you're in that moment, because I knew myself that like I wasn't in the mental state that I knew that like is my normal. So like I didn't want to make a rash decision, say like to retire, because I knew that like if I could see the people that I needed to see and they would give me the advice I needed, that I could make a more calculated decision that wasn't based on emotion. And if I had the facts where like, you know what, I'm going to be okay, or I can make this better, then I can be better placed to make a decision. Yeah. And that was where I was at.
That's the scary thing, because it's so on you about like how you feel, right? And even if you feel great in the moment, it's how you feel in the next 10 years. And you see all these retired athletes and how it's affecting them now, right? But like a broken leg, it's healed, right? It was something like a concussion. You can come back, and to your point, can come back worse and easier.
Yeah.
Well, that's the scary part too, where we're in the infancy stage with the brain research. Mm-hmm. And when I was going through my process, I'm asking the neuro guys, and I mean, Vandy has some of the top guys in the country in terms of concussion research. A lot of them are even contracted by the NFL. They're like the head concussion guys, and they run the whole operation. And I'm having these doctor's appointments with them on a weekly basis, and I'm asking them these questions, and a lot of them, they don't even have the answers yet. They're frank about it. They said, we're in the beginning of this research. A lot of it's a feel thing. There's no way to measure it. You can't do an MRI the same way you could do for an ACL and see exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
It's how you're feeling. So it's tough. And then they're kind of conservative with the recovery stuff, which is why I was so proactive about it. You know, I kept researching. There's got to be something I could do. So that's how I got into the blue light glasses. Even to this day, at night, wear the blue light glasses. Again, like the supplements I was talking to you about. And something I haven't tried yet, but I want to get into is stem cells. So one of my so my dad's a doctor, and a guy he knows out here in LA, his son, I believe, works for the NFL or does research for the NFL with concussion. And he works in a lab with mice. He basically gives them concussions with a hammer, rings their bell, right, and then injects them with their own stem cells. And he's doing that research for the league essentially.
Yeah. And
seeing what he can do with that. And according to him, he's seeing great results.
Yeah.
And so what he suggested to me was we would take a sample out, and then what you want to do is, I believe, inject yourself within like 48 hours or something, such that I can reach the blood-brain barrier. And yeah, I don't want to say you go back to baseline, but he's saying you're almost as good as you were before, which is as crazy as it sounds. He's kind of biased, but
yeah,
there's some crazy research coming out, man. It's something to consider.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next kind of 20 years.
Right.
Especially when you have like the past players and tracking how they're going post-retirement.
Is there the same kind of outrage in Australia with the brain stuff as there is here? With the lawsuits and...
Well, there is at the moment, actually. Like, there's a lot of past players kind of coming back now who are actually really struggling with mental issues, and there's been a couple of players who have unfortunately passed away, and they've donated their brains to research, and it's come back that they've had really severe forms of CTE. But like you're saying,
how does the league handle that? Does the league try to help it out or sweep it on the rug a little bit?
I guess because there's so much unknown about it. Like, I don't think anyone knows what to do, and like the league probably doesn't know how to handle it, nor do the players and the past players that are affected by it. And that's, I guess, the scariest part of it all is the unknown. And we live in a world where we need to know everything and feel comfortable.
Yep.
Give something.
Well,
good.
Big Ben, it's been an honor to have you on. AFL legend, future NFL punter, all Pac-12, USC Trojans standout, Ben Griffiths. Can't wait for you to sign the wall. Join the Momentum.
Take a picture.
Alumni.
Yeah, the pictures over there too.
Again, brother, really appreciate it. Let's do it soon sometime.
Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
For sure. Appreciate it.